Hello, everyone. So, welcome back to my channel. This is Jobren, yours truly. So, Merry Christmas and advance Happy New Year. So, I know it has been a very busy month for all of us. We are spending our time with our loved ones. We are sharing our gift. We are doing exchanging gifts. So, it's the greatest season of the year. So, thank you so much for that. Thank you, Lord, for giving us the gift of life, for the gift of everything. Okay, so I am back once again. So I hope you are all doing fine. I hope you feel good at this moment and every day of your life. So let's all be thankful with the Lord that we are doing okay, we are fine. So for today's vlog is I'll be discussing to you our lesson number 6 in the subject of contemporary world. So I'll be discussing about the glocalization of religion. So I'll be discussing all about religion. So how do we adhere to our own religion, practices, and belief? So let's have a quick background about this one. So I hope you will get something out of this very quick discussion, very quick introduction. So I really hope that I am helping you. So I know this is a season of spending your time with your family. This is for the students, it is your Christmas break. But for me, so I'll be discussing that one. So hopefully when I get back, when classes resume, so I'll be able to catch up with all the discussions that I need to do. Okay, so for today, so I'll be discussing about localization of religion. This is our lesson number 6. So what is religion? Okay, so when you talk about religion, you are also dealing with your own practices, with your own religious, your spirituality. We are talking about all the factors that we are we are practicing when you talk about religion. So take note that religions have been diversely defined, both academically. When you talk about religion, we'll also be talking about our social sciences in the field of social sciences, our subjectivity, the way we defined our own religion. So let's try to see what is really the meaning of religion. So, where did we get our religion and the factors that related to establishing our own religion? So, Karen Field, she is a sociologist. So, the way he defined religion is, according to her, religion is a unified system of belief and practices relative to sacred things. So meaning when you talk about religion, this is our unified system of belief and practices. We are practicing that, we adhere to that, and we perform our belief and practices based on the things that we value the most, and that is religion. Okay, so this is a sort of unity. This is a source of our way of establishing our unity, our unified system. So she also concluded that there are three essential elements of religion. So number one is religion is an observable phenomena which can be studied objectively. Meaning when you talk about religion, it should be seen by our own naked eye. Meaning it should be observed. It is an observable phenomena which can be studied objectively. That's why we are practicing a lot of spiritual belief and practices because we we heard about it. We are our forefathers, our ancestors are also practicing that one, so we also follow. So that is religion. The second element of religion is religion. It is constructed as an organized and ordered system. So when you talk about religion, it is construed as an organized and ordered system. So there is a flow, there is a procedure. This is an them. The third element of religion is the sacredness of religious entities. We're also using some religious entities to show our own practices and belief. So that's why, as what we have observed now, there are a lot of we are now practicing a lot of religious practices and belief. We also have that spirituality within ourselves. We are also having our own religious entities. So that is part or the elements of religion. That's why we are doing that. Okay? When you talk about religion, it is observable, meaning we heard about it, we see things, how they practice and how they establish their own religious practices and belief. So on the other hand, there's this one person, Kenneth Pargament. So on the other hand, Kenneth Pargament, a psychologist. So Karen Field is a sociologist. So another person comes in the name of Kenneth Pargament. So Kenneth Pargament is a psychologist. He specializes in the study of religion and psychological well-being. And according to him, religion is a process, a search for significance in ways related to the sacred. Meaning, when you talk about religion, according to Pargament, this is a process. This is a search for significance. Meaning, when you are trying the, uh, to look at things in a more valuable way, that is religion. And when you talk about religion, there is a flow. When you talk about practicing our own religious practices and belief, our spirituality, this is a search for meaning. So when you talk about religion, this is a search for meaning. And how do you search on this? How do you search your own meaning? It really depends on the things that you value the most, or the things that you are practicing based on your own religious and spirituality. So for Pargament, spirituality is a religion's most critical function. So, what do you mean by critical function? So, when you try to practice your own spirituality, it also tells you how to follow the things that they are doing. You talk about the religious practices or belief. So, spirituality is a religion's most critical function because it is your own understanding about religion. Okay, so people, when you talk about religion, people have their own private and personal views of what is religion. Yes, I have my own personal views about my own religion. You also have your own personal views about religion. And sometimes when you talk about religion, it is much more like a subjective meaning. So they associate with religion, meaning it is subjective. It really depends on me. It really depends on how I think about my own religion, my spirituality. So that makes it very subjective or very private. So that's why we have heard a lot of religious practices and belief, and it really depends on us if we do follow with them or not. So some affiliate with a religion because of affiliation motivation. So some join some religious practices or belief because of affiliation motivation. They want to have a positive social interaction. Meaning the main reason why we are joining some some religious practices or beliefs, some religion, because we need to have or to build a positive social interaction. We need other people. That is the idea of affiliate motivation or affiliation motivation, the connection that we can build if we have our own religion, the connection with others. So take note that religion serves as an indicator of social proximity. So what do you mean by social proximity? Meaning, when you talk about religion, it serves as a platform for social connection. Meaning, the more you engage yourself into your own religious or practices and belief or spirituality, the more you can build a lot of connection or social connection. That is it is also called as the affiliation motivation. So we are building our social connection, right? So others affiliate with the religion as a form of coping with stressful situations. Yes, so in my case, I love to join groups or religious practices or belief, a tradition, my own spirituality. So I love to be with them. I love to join with them because for me, it is my own way of coping my own stressful situations. Take note, we all experience stress. I also feel discouraged because I am also humans. I also experience stressful situations. And the best thing when we have our own religion, when we value our own religion, is we do build a lot of social connection. People also try to help us by motivating us to do something more with ourselves rather than keeping it to ourselves alone. So what Pargament would refer to us. So Pargament wanted to tell us that some may join um, religious activities because they want to cope up with their own stressful situations. So here, as what you can see, religion, it serves as a form of psychological shield. So when you talk about religion, it serves as our psychological shield from all the stresses, from all the pressures that we are into, the things that we are battling about. So, religion provides us a psychological shield that enables us to battle against the undesirable outcomes of life challenges. So that's why you cannot blame if people are joining a lot of religious activities, no? Because because for them it's good because it's one way of coping their own stresses in life. And once they engage themselves into something like that, they feel happy, they feel proud, and they feel good about it. So there are also those who relate with religion as a spiritual experience. So others will also tell us that they join religion because of their spiritual experience. They experience a lot, they are happy about it, they and they also believe that through their own religion, they were able to promote self-control and moral behaviors. So in short, when you talk about religion, it is very important for us to establish our a good relationship with our own religion, with our own practices or belief, because it can also help us in promoting self-control and moral behavior. So we were able to know if that is the right thing to do or not. So if you're engaged into some religious activities, you also tend to realize the things that are good for you or not good for you. So, having articulated the meaning that people attach to religion and religious experience, so we as humans, we are, especially here in the Philippines, we are a Christian country, no? We are building a lot of connections when it comes to our religion, and we are practicing that. We are practicing that way, way back until now. We are also practicing that one. We have a strong bond with our religion. But the question is this: in the time of rapid and widespread globalization, you talk about our economic, political, cultural information and process, where does the religion lie in the greater scheme of things? Meaning, since we are experiencing a lot of changes, cultural transition, we're experiencing a lot of things that are changing now in both in economic, cultural, or political. So, where does religion lie in the greater scheme of things? So, where is religion? So, according to Victor Rodamtov, he started by pointing out the rift between the study of religion and the social sciences. So, according to Victor Rodamtov, he further stated no that because of globalization, there's also the term secularization or the enforcement of secularism. So according to Vector Radom Tough, because of the widespread and rapid spread of globalization, we are now experiencing the enforcement of secularism or the cultural transition. So cultural transition, we are now experiencing a lot of struggles when it comes to practicing our own religious life. So, and I think that is true because nowadays, no, so as what we are observing with the way we behave, no, sometimes we tend to forget the values that our own religion was telling us because of the influences, because of the things that we are now experiencing. So, in an earlier work, Stark has discussed the term secularization hypothesis. So, according to Stark, so ang ingon siya, secularization hypothesis is there is a demise of religion. There is a demise of religion alongside the rise of modernization. Meaning, if we talk about our own religion, because of the rise of modernization, sometimes our own religion disappear. Meaning, there is a sudden slow growth of our own religion because of the rise of modernization, because of the things that are happening now. We are so focused with that, and sometimes we tend to forget the value of our own religious life. So according to Radam Tough, there have been two distinct perspectives related to secularization in the modern times. So again, secularization is the cultural transition. We are now experiencing cultural transition. For me, I am also experiencing that one. So there's a lot of changes now. So according to Rodham Toff, he clearly stated that the notion of post-secularity or the return of religious consciousness in the public sphere. So meaning, despite the cultural transition, especially here in the Philippines, no, we are still conscious with our own religious belief and practices. So especially in the time of COVID-19, I know that we are all struggling. We cannot go to church. It's hard to go out to attend mass. So we are experiencing the online mass, no? But as Filipinos, because we are a Christian country, so we are longing to go to church, and now we are doing fine. So the Simbang Gabi is done, the ninth day, no? Simbang Gabi. So we are happy that we're able to do that. Last year we were not able to do that. So despite of the cultural transition, despite of the changes, there are still people who are returning to their own religious consciousness. They are still practicing the values that they are practicing when it comes to their own religious practices and belief. So number two distinct perspective when you talk about religion is the religious modernity. So when you talk about religious modernity, it means that because of the rise of modernization, there are some changes when it comes to our religious practices and belief. So this is in an active process emerging from social action. So because of the rise of modernization, globalization, there are some aspect when you talk about our practices and belief, know that we are trying to embrace it because of the social need. So for example, so before we need to attend masses physically, but because of the pandemic, we need to emerge, we need to transcend, we need to change it to our from physical mass to an online mass. So I think that is a proactive process emerging from social action. So before, when we do our worship time, so we need to go there physically, but now they're opening the doors who cannot attend physically to just attend online. So that is emerging process of from social action. Okay, so that is religious modernity. So one of the consequences of globalization is cultural diversity. So what is cultural diversity? So diversity, you talk about the diversity is the idea that people are very diverse. People are trying to do everything in a very fastest way. So as we let our ideas flow in and out of geographical spaces, no, we bring in and out also our own values, traditions, and belief. Yes, we are diversified because our ideas are very smooth flowing. So we are also moving in and out. So it's just the same idea with how our religious practices are also changing, are also moving, depending on how we are doing our own cultural diversity. Okay, so we experience a lot of cultural diversity nowadays. So we let our ideas flow at the same time. We also let our religious practices to be practiced by a lot of people. We are sharing that one. Okay, so that is religious pluralism and tolerance. So it is therefore common. So for example, in a globalized world, it is very common, no, that we share our own identity with others, our own cultural practices with others. So when we share our own practices, our cultural belief, values, traditions, especially when it comes to our religious practices, we're also telling them about our religious pluralism. So we are sharing that one to others. We are informing them to if they are willing to join us, that is religious pluralism. So in the context of religion, cultural pluralism requires a certain form of religious tolerance. So when you talk about uh, religious tolerance, so for example, if you want to join us, if you want to join, if you want to join to any religious affiliation, no, so we also need to abide with their own practices and belief. We should also it is very necessary for us to abide to their own practices and religious belief because you are joining with them. So that is the idea of religious pluralism. And sometimes because of this we also experience a lot of challenges, no, when you talk about letting other people join us, when you talk about practicing our own religious practices and belief. So a critical issue on religion. So because of the widespread of globalization, there's a lot of debate when you talk about our own religious. So number one of the critical issue is the religious fundamentalism. So what is this all about? So religious fundamentalism is the belief that there is one set of religious teaching. So meaning there is only one set of religious teaching, nothing else. And sometimes because we are imposing that there's only one set of religious teaching, it also it incurs a lot of debates, it incurs a lot of discussions just to prove that there's only one set of religious teaching. Take note that there are varying opinions as to religious fundamentalism. So I have my own opinion when you talk about my own religion. You also have your own opinion when you talk about your own religion. Because when you talk about religion, it also entails your cognitive and affective processes. Cognitive and affective processes that influence behavior. Okay? So, and sometimes because of our religious fundamentalism, sometimes other people would also argue about their own belief, their own practices. So, since we have different belief systems, so I think we just need to respect each other, to be with each other. So, that is a critical issue when you talk about religion. So, it's what you can see on TV. No, there's a lot of religious debates, and they're also expressing themselves one on one. They're also trying to defend themselves. So I think that is a perfect example of religious fundamentalism. So according to Ilmas, religious fundamentalism manifests in two ways. So ingon siya, religious fundamentalism manifests in two ways. Number one, there is non-violent intolerance. So when you talk about non-violent intolerance, this is an extreme identification with a particular religion. So for example, in my case, I am a Catholic. So I identify myself as a Catholic. So since I am part of the Roman Catholic, so I am also practicing the belief, the religious belief and practices and traditions imposed by the Roman Catholic. Okay, number two, manifestation is violent intolerance. So meaning there are some people who are very defensive when you talk about the religious fundamentalism. So when you talk about violent intolerance, from the word itself, violent, so there is a direct use of physical violence in pursuing subjectively defined religious mission. So there is a direct use of physical violence. So there is fighting, there is argument, this is a lot of things that are happening. So in these two manifestations suggest that not all forms of religious fundamentalism causes some of physical harm. So not all religious fundamentalism causes some form of physical harm. Phenomena that matters in analyzing religious trends in the age of globalization is the glocalization of religion. Meaning we are practicing some unfamiliar or unpopular religious practices and belief. So even if they are very new to us, we're also practicing that because other people in the locality are also practicing that way of worshiping God. So that is glocalization of religion. So it is so we are practicing that one. So in your place, we're also practicing that one. So that is the idea of localization of religion. So it really depends on the area. So because there's a lot of religion imposed in a multiple spaces around the globe. So I think it won't matter anymore. So we can practice our own religious belief and practices depending on how we see ourselves as part of that religion. So, in the age of globalization, Victor Rodomtov suggested four forms of glocalization. Number one is vernacularization. So, when you talk about localization of religion, meaning from the word itself, local, so the we are practicing some local and religious practices and belief depending on the area that you are in. So number one is vernacularization. Vernacularization is this is trying to link our own religious practices and belief with our own vernacular language. That is vernacularization, meaning we are trying to link our own religious practices. So if I am Bisaya, I'm also practicing some religious practices and belief in Bisaya. So, indigenization, this is trying to link our own religious belief with local particularism. So, I'm trying to connect my own religious practices or belief with the local community. That is indigenization. Okay, nationalization, this is linking our own religion and local in a national particularism. So in a national level, we are trying to connect ourselves, our religion practices and belief. Number four is transnationalization, meaning we are adapting a universal religion into one's own culture, naturalization of religion. So we are allowing ourselves to adapt to a certain religion depending into our own culture. So as what we have noticed, we are talking about religion. So it is objective. It will also be subjective. So when you talk about religion, it is our own way of defining ourselves, and how we practice it, to that on how we practice ourselves, on how we practice our own religion, on how we adapt to a certain religion based on our own culture. So there are a lot of things that is happening when you talk about religion, and some people would also debate or trying to defend themselves because for them there's only one set of religious teaching, and that is their own teaching. So that is one of the most critical. So when you talk about religion, this is our spirituality is the most critical function, because it really depends on the person. If you are practicing that one, it really depends on your conviction. It really depends on how do you see yourself as part of that religion. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you are learning from all the videos that I've posted. Thank you so much, and hopefully you will still support and subscribe and like and share my channel, no? So I'll try to catch up with all the things that I messed up. So thank you so much. I'll see you again for my next video blog. Thank you and God bless you.